So welcome to the Castongia Tractor 2019 Spring Clinic. Thank you all for coming. I hope we put together I know we put together a great program for you. I hope you get a lot of information out of it. We've got a lot of displays here, parts display, and some row units and some planter attachments. I'd like to thank some of our suppliers, our vendors, for coming and joining us at our clinic. I believe it's the first time we've had a selection of our manufacturers that we represent come and be here with you guys to show you some of their products in person, show you what they have to offer. John Deere Financial, Tim from John Deere Financial, and Landau Fast, 360 Yield Center, and last but not least, Dennis J. from Underfirth. So if you meet him, you won't forget him. That's guaranteed. How long have you been our rep, Dennis?
41 years.
41 years?
Yeah, before you were around.
Yeah. So he's been calling on Castonians for 40 years.
Good morning, everybody. Our goal here today is to help ensure you guys with success. Our goal is maximum yields, starting with the plant. So all begins pre-season. That's why we've got the clinic here today, but it's very important. We're going to show you some ways that you can lose yield you might not even be realizing, or how to capture those and have a more successful fall. The things we're going to talk about today: correct population, uniform spacing, uniform emergence, and planting in an optimal planting window. And we're going to show you some tips and tricks, but we're also going to point out some of the costs if we fail at these 4 tasks. Best case scenario, if we take all the things that we learned today and apply these, we lose 0 potential. Worst case, we can lose up to 36 bushels based on 200 bushel yield if we fail at these 4 tasks. Many of you have probably seen this before. I think back in my college days, I first saw this with fertility, looking at your most limiting factor. That's our shortest stave in the barrel. So that's what we're applying here. We don't want plant performance be our limiting factor to our top end yields. Here's the 4 things we talked about. It says correct population. Studies show 2 to 4 bushels we can lose per acre if we miss at this task. Uniform spacing, 2 to 4 bushels also. But then look at a big one here, uniform emergence. I know a couple of years ago talked about this a little bit with how it affects, but we're going to visit this again. But this is a big one, 10 to 18 bushels for uneven emergence. And another good-sized one, but planting in that opportune window. And we'll show and visit this. Okay, so first, correct population. We said 2 to 4 bushel. Okay, we look here, we see these curves in this chart, and we can see it moves depending on what our yield potential in our field. This is what's driven the variable rate seeding that more and more of you guys are incorporating into your operations today. But we see that depending on the soil potential in that field, we can affect yields tremendously and save some bucks or increase our return by adjusting those populations. And we look over here, we've got to identify our zones. Typically anymore, guys are using yield maps to build their zones because they do a very good job of defining the different potentials within a field and then assigning some different rates based on the hybrid you have, but the field's potential to maximize this. But the key point here is we want to point out yield potential can vary across the field. Uniform spacing, 2 to 4 bushels we said here. What we're most concerned about with uniform spacing is letting our roots underground develop so that we maximize nutrients and moisture. Ideal spacing achieves the goal to not have limitations because of the root system. Okay, we define, you guys mostly probably know this pretty good, but this is our desired, this is what we're after, the picket fence. Everybody's heard of that. In reality, even if our seed meter is putting them out there in that picket fence spacing, there's things that affect it by the time it gets to the seed furrow to interrupt or interfere with that even spacing. Some of those things are the ground speed, the row unit bounce. They can affect things after they leave the seed meter. This is a good representation of what poor. This is what happens when we miss our mark of this picket fence. How do we reduce some of this variability? Again, by reducing skips and doubles. We eliminate the mechanical issues. That's why the techs are here. That's why we're going to be talking on planters, so that our system is moving freely and accurately. And these things add up to change this poor to more of our reality, or as close as possible to the desired effect. What happens when we miss this mark or we're in this poor? Well, if you look up top on this slide, this is our picket fence. You can see the plants, and the red marks underneath are identifying that plant in that row. And down here on the bottom row, this is the ear that was produced from these plants where we've missed the mark. So, look at these small oddballs here. We've got big ones where there's a big gap in there. But to get our ideal goal, we want to see a lot of ears that look more like this than like this. Okay, quickly, the 10 to 18 bushels based on emergence. This is the big one. Okay, uniform emergence. The yield difference between emergence, we said, is the 10 to 18 bushels. But if we look in here, we can see some obvious things here where we've got tall plants, we've got short plants. This is what happens up here when we saw in the last slide, those small ears that are competing down here, they're the runts of the litter. And then we've got the big ears. That's not how we get our maximum yield. Okay, what factors affect uniform emergence? Planting depth, so we want to ideally have an even, consistent depth. Into moisture, we want to reduce the air pockets around the seed so that they absorb moisture evenly. But if we don't get this good seed to soil contact air, that's what we're talking about, the air pocket. And oftentimes, and more importantly, especially as we get into more strip till, reduced till, no-till type things, we've got to do a really good job of managing the residue. I always want to call it trash, but it's a valuable product. Trash is something we throw away. Residue, but we got to manage it. But this can cause hairpinning, so if we don't cut that, or we don't get it out of the way of the disc openers for that seed furrow, we can plant that kernel into a piece of trash, and so we're not getting good seed to soil contact. Sometimes it can pull it back up. We'll keep it on even depth, but a big thing we've got to pay attention to as we get into higher and higher yields and reduced tillages, we've got to deal with trash more and more consistently. And also, last but not least, the crusting that can develop at the soil. Here we've got some pictures. You can kind of see back here is a picket fence. It's our deal. Over here we're seeing a lot difference. Anybody see a difference between this row and this row? Well, emergence, right, but why? I just talked about residue management. If you look over here, we've got a pretty clean area that we planted into. You look on these two rows here, the trash is consistent between the rows and in the rows. So odds are this trash was severely affecting because maybe it made the unit bounce if it couldn't cut, or it planted it into a piece of residue here and it didn't get enough moisture to germinate, or left it open to an insect or something like that. But this is kind of what we're talking here when we talk good residue management. We're cleaning that row off to get it into as clean a soil as possible so that we can hit the mark. Finally, planting window, 4 to 10 bushels it says here. We look here, we've probably all seen these. We know roughly, you know, that late April into May is our ideal for corn and soybeans. And as we start getting later, we start losing yield very rapidly. And again, it's kind of interesting when you look at this aspect on the slide. In your higher performing fields, we lose that potential even more dramatically as we get too late into the season. This is a survey from 12 of how many days it took most farmers in the survey to complete corn planting. This particular slide focuses on Iowa and Missouri up here, but you can see down here's Indiana, Ohio, here's Illinois. And you can see that in 2012, almost 7 years ago now, it took an average between 8 to almost 11 days to plant the corn crop. We start looking at and comparing how many days it took us to, and then consider how many days that we typically have available to plant in because of rain events, moisture in the soil, getting it ready, and then how many days does it physically take us to prepare the ground and put the seed in the ground. And then we start comparing and thinking of these things here, and always that yield loss potential in the back of our minds. Our goal is to plant in 5 to 6 days. That's typically, in this part of our world, the days available that we have to put our corn crop in the ground. Okay. Let's talk and summarize a little bit here before we look at some of these tips how to fix these things. But revisit, we got a correct population, we said here, with 2 to 4 bushels. We need to focus mostly on our meter, our vacuum controls, our drive, our delivery system. Uniform emergence, this is why the hydraulic and the air downforce for depth control, our closing wheels to get our seed to soil contact, and as we pointed out there a couple slides ago, our residue management. Uniform spacing, of course that's our meters, and our drive system on our planters, and productivity for our planting window. How fast can we get across those acres? Okay, what settings? Now we've talked about the mechanical issues. There's also settings besides just the physical metal and mechanical components that affect these items too. With ground drive, our vacuum settings, our meter settings, overlap transmission settings, or contact tire pressure. Hydraulic drives, again, vac and meter settings, are we overlapping? Do we turn off those sections? You know, if we overlap on our end rows or don't turn off our guest as we overlap and finish up a field, we've dramatically affected our population, and typically those areas don't yield near as good because they're too competitive. with each other, and they don't produce the same bushels as you do with the correct population. And our electric drives, again, vac settings, meter settings, and our electrical system, if we've got troubles with that, can affect our final stand. And back here, what is our goal in corn? Hitting the mark, we want to be within plus or minus 1,000 seeds. Soybeans, it's calculated at about 3,000. Okay, factors that affect spacing. Somewhat redundant up here, but keep in mind that part of our seed delivery method, even our seed tubes, these get wore, they start bouncing the seed back and forth instead of a nice arc. That changes the spacing, and even the seed sensors being improperly put in there, they can affect and start bounce as the seed gets to the bottom. Residue management, again, real big effect on seed depth. Typically, if we can't penetrate the ground correctly, we end up with the uneven depths, but we also get poor seed to soil contact. And again, population, kind of redundant, so in time I'll keep moving here. But productivity, think about this. This is why with our exact emerge planters, some of the competition with the electric drives, we can have max speeds now in that 8 to 10 mile an hour speed settings. And if you haven't tried that, you think, oh boy, but I tell you, when we go with the guys that get these planters, we hear this because we're gearing up their fertilizer systems and so forth like that, and horsepower on the tractors. And a few fields into the spraying, all of a sudden they're talking about this 10 and 11 mile an hour speeds that they're trying, and it works pretty good. So don't discount that. But again, our goal, as I mentioned earlier, that 5 to 6 days, because typically that's the average number of days that we have available to plant, ideally, our corn crop in this part of the world. Questions? Okay. Hopefully I haven't put you to sleep. Hopefully I've given you a little bit of thought here as we get into the rest of the program. But I want to thank you for letting me talk.
All right. So my name's Craig Berkey, and this is Gert Stillbauer. All right. And for the next 3 to 3.5 hours, we are going to sit here and talk to you guys about tillage tools, and then we're going to, not really. Who wants to watch a movie? That sounds better, right? So we're going to talk about a couple things. So like, what is new right now? What's new? Anything new going on in John Deere and the tillage? So we do actually have something pretty cool to talk about, and I want to make reference to that we do have the John Deere guys here today, including Bennett, that is the tillage specialist for John Deere in several state areas. So whether or not, or take advantage of that if you've got questions beyond what we can deliver here today. Here's a guy that's been a prototype that they have that's now in production we're going to talk about, which is the 2660 VT. Up till now, Deere's had a VT tool, and that was the 2623, or was now called the 2633, which is kind of a disc frame style vertical tillage tool. And we're going to talk about this one here, which is variable intensity tillage. Let's watch the video if we can cue that up, and then we'll expound on that.
In pursuit of a consistent field finish, many of you are asking for greater adaptability built into a single implement to handle both fall and spring field work. You need to manage residue and create an ideal seed bed, even in changing conditions. And we know you want a versatile, high-performance tillage tool to cover your acres quickly and efficiently. To meet your multi-season needs, we're introducing the new 2660 VT variable intensity tillage tool with an adjustable gang angle. The all-new frame of the 2660 VT has the right amount of weight per blade to handle a wide range of soil and residue conditions at operating speeds up to 10 miles per hour. It's available in 6 models in 3 and 5 section configurations from 20 to 50 feet wide. And you'll get a true working width on every pass, because our full width tillage tool does not need intentional overlap. You have a choice of tire options to suit your needs. Radial tires for greater reliability in transport, or high flotation for reduced compaction and less wear from stubble in the field. And compact transport dimensions make it easy to move between fields. We addressed your biggest concerns for height and width where it matters most. 3-section models are under 14 feet high, and 5-section models are less than 15.5 feet wide. The 2660 VT gives you the option to adjust the gang angle from 0 to 12 degrees. This means you can adapt to both spring and fall field work, as well as adjust for changing conditions. The 2660 VT helps speed soil warm-up so you can get in the field to plant sooner. It also levels the surface and subsurface to ensure excellent planter ride quality and improves emergence that contributes to greater yields. At 0 degrees, you size residue and get vertical soil movement. Increasing the gang angle will provide horizontal soil movement to mix and bury more residue, which also removes light ruts and weeds. Here you can see the capabilities of the 2660 VT with results from 4 different gang angle settings. It's fast to adjust the gang angle thanks to our easy-to-use manual slider with spring-loaded pin. And for the ultimate in precision, TrueSet Tillage technology offers easy 1-degree adjustments and prescription-based capabilities. To easily penetrate hard soils, as well as cut, size, and mix residue, we're introducing the exclusive 22-inch Commander blade. This wavy straight blade on 7¼ inch spacing uses a serrated edge and shallow concavity to fracture and lift soil to reduce compaction with less soil smearing. This blade is designed for low draft and to work across the entire 0 to 12 degree gang angle range at max speed. Made of high quality steel, the double-edged Commander blade retains its sharp cutting edge due to the hardness on the outside surface and also ensures even wear life. The center of the blade is built to flex and absorb impact in rocky conditions for added durability. Another critical component to achieve your desired field finish is our exclusive Pro Finish leveling system with new hydraulic double rolling baskets. They help size clods and pin residue to reduce erosion in the fall, break down residue over the winter, and then leave a firm, smooth, and level seedbed finish in the spring. This 2-part system features a knife edge basket up front and a flat or round bar basket on the rear. The knife edge basket is mounted in reverse to change the direction of the soil while mixing and anchoring residue. In addition, it breaks up clods on the surface and knocks out subsurface ridges. For further processing, the second basket reduces leftover clods, removes soil from remaining root balls, and pins residue, all while firming the soil to leave behind a smooth, uniform finish. Both baskets are hydraulically adjustable from the cab to allow you to vary down pressure as field conditions change. To help make adjustments fast and easy, we've integrated TrueSet technology with the 2660 VT. You can adjust the depth, gang angle, and rolling basket down pressure, as well as other settings without stopping. For greater implement precision over uneven terrain, our optional TrueSet side-to-side system gives you depth control on individual sections. To answer your precision ag needs, industry-exclusive TrueSet provides automated adjustments with prescriptions. For example, on spots with higher residue, you can prescribe the 2660 VT to increase the gang angle. Or on hilltops, you can reduce the angle, leaving more residue to help prevent erosion. And gang angle documentation on the Gen 4 display provides another layer of information that works seamlessly in the John Deere Operations Center. To cover your acres quickly, manage tough residue in the fall, and leave you with a firm, smooth, and level seedbed in the spring, check out the new 2660 VT Variable Intensity Tillage Tool with adjustable gang angle from John Deere.
The picture tells 1,000 words, right? So as you can see, there's some significant differences in this tool over what Deere offered before. Whether it's the straight blades as opposed to a low concavity blade, and it's the fact that it has hydraulic adjustability. TrueSet will work on 2630. TrueSet documentation will only work on a Gen 4 display. If so, all the more reason for you to rush down to the dealership and buy a new tractor right after this, because then you will have a Gen 4 display on the armrest, solving the problem of documentation. All right? But, so with the high angle, remove weeds, fill ruts, bury residue, a tool like this is probably going to be a tool that's also going to be able to even go in and level chiseled ridges. If you do some, if you have some corn-on-corn situations where you're not just going to do that type. So I like the versatility of it. And can you advance? This is a big difference here too in the blade itself. The 2633 or now John Deere tillage tool uses a low concavity disc blade on the front on a fixed gang angle. This is running a straight blade. So when you run this thing at 0 degrees, you are literally running the tool at the blades at 0. So you could, you've seen these fields where you go out there and you're going like, man, was somebody out there or not? I can't tell, it looks like it. So if you want low disturbance, you're going to make it happen with this, or if you want more aggressive, it's at the touch of a button. They can retain their sharpness, and there's kind of self-sharpening, which is a real good feature if you advance. So TrueSet has functionality among the following things. It's the overall depth of the machine, it's the rolling basket down pressure, it's the gang angle, it's hydraulic fore and aft leveling, and it's the stabilizer wheels, which are in the front, and it's wing control side to side, which the bigger the machine, the bigger deal that probably is. So you would literally have electric over hydraulic control of all those components with TrueSet. Okay, so then the next question is, well, how much does TrueSet cost, right? So I went in and I built a couple of these tools in Configurator, and it looked on a 30-foot tool, TrueSet is going to add about $11,000 to the selling price of a 2660 VT. So consider that. I guess the question is, if you don't have TrueSet ability, are you likely to get out and make an adjustment? If you're like me, you might think you're going to make adjustments, but in reality, does that happen? So I see guys waving and saying no. So relative to the cost of the machine and the investment you're making, it's probably the right buy, especially because now it turns that machine really into something that you can use spring and fall, which I don't know that we can say that about other vertical tillage tools. Maybe we can use this thing. Maybe this tool, suddenly the benefit is it replaces some of our primary or secondary seedbed preparation tools, because both it can do so much. That might be something we see. I see that as a benefit. All right, if you advance, please. So again, you have in-cab control and then documentation. So you literally can make a prescription tillage map and save that, so that the next time you come into, and I'm driving down here, I saw a field that would be perfect for this. You got the low spot, you got the high spot. You know, less aggressive on the tops, more aggressive in the bottoms. Save that, and the tool would actually do it the same way every time when you save that. So that kind of ability did not even exist a few years ago, and now it's reality. Okay, Kirk. I put this picture in because I thought it was cool. That was a neat looking picture, but it shows you the double basket on the back now too. They talked a little bit in the video about how the front basket has kind of a different function than the back one. The front one is more about reorganizing what has come through the tool itself, and the back one is to firm and to knock the small clods down one more time. hydraulic adjustment on our double baskets. In a minute, we're going to talk a little bit about the Landau vertical tillage tool, and they also have a double basket. Ours is hydraulically adjustable. They have one that is hydraulic adjust up. Ours is actually, you can control the pressure on the tillage tool. So it's all part of the Pro Finish harrow attachments. And Pro Finish is kind of a blanket term for in the tillage line. A few years ago, you had to make a choice if you got a field cultivator or a finisher. Only certain tine or basket combinations would fit on certain tools. Now, across the line, all Pro Finish attachments will fit on any John Deere tillage tool. So I think this is kind of a takeaway here, that it really does become a multi-season tool. I've had a couple of guys that talked to me recently about vertical tillage tools that they are literally thinking about replacing their field cultivator or their primary, their spring tillage tool with a vertical tillage tool. And that kind of flies in the face of what we're thinking, because we think of a disc, and we're like, we've talked, the things that Brian talked about with side smear from the disc and the things that affect emergence, but we kind of change your thinking a little bit to the way these tools are designed. I really do think that a tool like this can serve as the one that's right in front of your planter. You look what a nice job it's doing in that bean stubble there, and it will also work just as well in the fall. All right, so Kirk's going to talk a little bit about Landau.
Do any of you guys have the new 7530 Landau? Couple out there.
There's no sound. I don't think there's sound on this.
So as you can see in the video there, this one is also hydraulically adjusted fore and aft. The gang angles. The gang angles on those hydraulically can be adjusted from 5 to 15 degrees. Deere's goes 0, Landau is 5 to 15. Again, it's hydraulic and adjustable on the go. Here is the different basket options. This one is just your standard basket. This one has hydraulic up. It does not have hydraulic pressure down. So it is either down or you can raise it up to, there's no pressure down. This is the double basket option that they have. The floating kind of basket. There's pieces of rubber in between where they mount on the back of the frame, and it kind of walks a little bit behind. It's not mounted rigid. Some of the benefits of the VT Plus. A lot of guys, especially this year with the fall that we had last year, promoting soil warm-up because a lot of the groundwork didn't get done that normally gets done. Level ridges and fill in ruts. You're able to utilize available nutrients while building the soil. Promoting earlier spring planting. Again, it's very wet this year, and as soon as we can get in there, we're not going to be wanting to do as much tillage as we would like to do. Something like this could promote earlier spring planting, killing weeds, creating the seed bed, germination and emergence, and increasing yield. Some more of the features, those are the sizes at the top that you can get the 7500 series in. 24-inch low concavity blades, 7-inch spacing. On the Deere it was 7 1/4, right? Again, 5 to 15 degrees, you can go anything between, you can go 5 1/2 if you want. You don't have to go 5, 6, 7, anything that you need between 5 and 15. they've improved the trunnion bearings with the seals in the C-cushion bearing standards. 5.5-inch lift axles, maintenance-free lift system. They have poly bushings in the gangs now, is what they did not used to. They're non-greasable on the actual main frame. Walking tandems do still have greasable pivots on them. Self-leveling hitch. You can get the hitch in either category 3 or 4. Single point depth control. All the adjustment in the gang wrenches that you need to level side to side is provided with the machine. All the safety lights are LED now. And these are kind of the biggest things. A lot of people ask us what's the weight differences, what are the weights of these machines. You're probably more, your standard is your 75, 30, 29 or 32, or even the 26, ranging anywhere from 27,000 pounds to about 31,000 pounds. They're a very heavy, well-built machine.
Okay, before we go on and talk about anything else, I guess I'm going to point out to you. So the good news is we've got demo ability, both on the Landau and right now we've got a couple of Landau tools we can demo to you, and we're going to have the new 2660 Deere in our possession by fall to demo as well. So that to me is something you should take advantage of. We'll have it on a tractor, we'll bring it out to the farm, we'll show you how to run it and see how it does. There's nothing like a demo. I guess the other thing I want you to know that right now on the Deere, there's still an early order period discounts available for fall delivery. That fall delivery time frame is getting tight. If this is something you're interested in, we need to look at it now. But you can still get some early order period discounts on the 2660 VT. Price-wise, the Landau and the manual adjust 2660 per width are in a very similar price point. And the true set, as I mentioned, costs a little more than that, but you get the benefit of the in-cab ability with it. We're going to move on to something else, but any questions for us about vertical tillage tools? Maybe like what Brian talked about, how this may be a benefit, or why a vertical tillage tool is something you ought to consider if you haven't already. I mean, who runs a vertical tillage tool in this room? Okay. Any questions on them that we can try to answer, or we can sort of draw in Corey Hyde or Bennett from Deere, you know, for what's that?
Hydraulics.
Does it take to run them?
How many spools do you need?
True set, how many outlets will it take on your tractor to run all of that?
Depends on what options, but up to 5.
Everything on it?
Everything 5.
5. And Landau?
It's 4.
The one thing too I'll point out, with the true set option, you do not have to have all of it. So if you just want to have gang angle, depth, and basket pressure, for example, you can just have those 3. So it's not an all or nothing option.
Did everybody hear what he said? He said on the true set, it's not, you don't have to get everything that true set offers. You can, it's not all or nothing. There are different options. You can get just the hydraulic gang angle, you could get just the hydraulic basket. You don't have to have the whole, all of it.
What's the ballpark base price without true set on
30-foot true set. This is
Without.
without true set, you're going to be in the upper 80s. Or 30-footer. Yeah, piece of cake, right? All right. Welcome to the world of high-tech tillage tools. There's something to be said for it. Any other questions? All right, so just briefly, and I kind of alluded to this already, that across the tillage line, it's we're talking about vertical tillage this morning because there's a couple pretty new pieces here. It's not like John Deere does not offer a full lineup of tillage tools. The 2310 finisher is now the 2330 finisher. What used to be the 2210 field cultivator is now 2330. They have heavier frames. They've got the Pro Finish attachments that fit all tools across the line. So if you have questions about those as well, I'm not saying there's not a place for field cultivators, because heaven knows there are, but we kind of decided to focus on the DT tool today. So if you have no other questions, we're going to move on to something completely different. We good? All right. Let's go on a couple slides. Okay, E23. Has anybody heard of E23? All right. E23 transmission. I'm going to show you a video here in just a second. This is kind of a hybrid, I would say, or the next step up from what you've been running is in your 8000 series tractors, which have a 16-speed power shift, or you had IVT as an option. E23 is something kind of interesting, something a little less cost, something that's going to work really well. So if we can get the video to play, can we?
This video explains the functionality and features of the John Deere E23 transmission in full auto mode, where the operator sets a desired ground speed and the tractor determines the most efficient way to maintain that speed. In full auto mode, the modules available to the operator are max speeds and set speeds. Set speeds can be viewed on the transmission and run pages, but can only be adjusted using the set speed adjusting wheel on the transmission control lever. In the full auto mode, the efficiency manager is always on, meaning the tractor will automatically control the throttle to change engine RPMs. It will upshift or downshift gears to maintain the operator's desired ground speed based on current engine load. Bumping the transmission control lever makes large ground speed changes. Finer speed changes are made using the adjusting wheel. Rapid speed changes are made by holding the transmission lever forward or backward. Operators have the ability to set two separate programmable ground speeds in both forward and reverse. These set speeds are activated by pushing the Set Speed buttons on the command arm. To change the set speeds, remove the tractor from park and place the transmission control lever into neutral. Then, select one of the Set Speed buttons. Set Speed will become active and indicated on the corner post display. Use the Set Speed adjusting wheel on the transmission control lever to dial in the desired ground speed. Once the ground speed is determined, move the tractor into gear. When a Set Speed button has been activated, the Efficiency Manager will shift gears and change the engine speed to reach the selected ground speed. An outline box will appear on the transmission module to show which speed is active, and the Efficiency Manager indicator light will be visible on the corner post display. Maximum throttle position is required to efficiently reach the desired ground speed. Engine RPMs will increase as the tractor makes automatic adjustments under changing loads. The Set Speed adjusting wheel can adjust the set speed value while the tractor is in gear. Bumping the transmission control lever forward or backward deactivates the set speeds. Ground speed will then increase or decrease. When shifting between forward and reverse in full auto, the tractor will return to its last known ground speed. Not all modules are available to the operator in full auto mode. Additional John Deere videos are available on how to set up and operate the other transmission modes.
So, E23 is kind of the next step up from what you thought of as a power shift transmission. And who runs IVT in here? Anybody familiar with it? Okay. So there's some subtle differences in the transmission. But if you haven't run IVT before, what you do is you take your throttle and you put it all the way up and then don't touch it again. And then you take your set speed dial and you ask for a set speed on the corner post. And then you start doing your field operation, and the tractor and the controller inside is going to do everything it can to give you the set speed you asked for. And then once it's done that, it's going to calculate the most efficient combination of engine RPM that it can to save fuel. And it is really slick. And it is proven, and it has worked for a long time. So when we went to power shift tractors, there was a way you could kind of manually do that, right? Shift up, throttle back. So if I want to go 6 miles an hour, I can put it in whatever gear that would be, and I can pull the throttle back a little bit, and that works. But I can't do that continuously and always pick the right combination. So Efficiency Manager is the tool within this. On the 4-wheel drive tractors, the 9Rs have had Efficiency Manager for a while. In an 18-speed transmission, E23, you literally have 23 power shift speeds, but when you are in full auto mode, you take your throttle and you turn it all the way up. Don't touch it again. I've seen guys pull back on that thing and it defeats the whole thing. Leave the throttle up. Let the tractor regulate the engine RPM. Pick a set speed, all right? And then it is going to continuously calculate what the best gear you should be in under load and what the best engine RPM should be for load. And the really cool thing about that, if we can demo that to you sometime, is on the 8Rs are so advanced. You know, they have a fuel per hour reading going on the display at all times, right? And so, you know, we'll be out there, we'll be chisel plowing or something like that. Let's just run it manually. You run that tractor like you generally would. Let's see how many gallons of fuel per hour you're using, all right? All right, so let's just say it's a number, and there it is. Now let's put it in Efficiency Manager or run it in E23 Efficiency Manager, and you will be surprised at you're getting the same speed with the engine back, how many less gallons of fuel per hour it actually uses. And I'm not going to stand up here and tell you that's going to help you pay for that tractor. But what I'm going to tell you is that you're out there using it anyway, and the technology exists, and it does start to have a payback, okay? Especially when we start talking about vertical tillage tools that take a lot of speed. How much more value, how much more benefit is there to have a few extra gears to grab? And if you've never pulled a VT tool, any tractor will pull a 30-foot VT tool at 5 miles an hour. Not so much at 6 and 7. And when you start jumping from 8 to 9 to 10, it is shocking how much power it takes and how hard it is on the transmission to actually pull a tool that fast. And so that's why I really like E23 as an option. So it costs less than IVT. It's about $5,000 less than an IVT transmission, okay? But here's a couple of differences that you don't get. You get creeper speeds with IVT, okay? So vegetable guys that need to drive that thing all day long at 0.9 miles an hour, IVT is a transmission for them. Speed matching with IVT is probably better. If you're whipping up along beside the grain cart, you know, because it's seamless. There aren't steps you're going through with gears. So speed matching is probably a little better with IVT than it is with E23. But if those aren't big considerations for you, that's where you get the similar performance to IVT with comparable fuel savings and less cost in an E23 transmission. So again, any questions on how that operates? There's an F1 and an F2. You can designate speeds. So when one can be 5, one can be 6.5. You make your turn at the end. You turn around again. You hit F2. The tractor shifts up, gets you there, and then almost every time we'll throttle back. It's not something wrong. It's weird the first time you do it because it seems like your engine, that there's something going wrong with the engine. No, it just doesn't need the RPMs right now, so it's going to pull back on it. Auto clutch. Okay, so IVT and E23 transmission have a feature called auto clutch that when you step on the brakes, it's like stepping on the clutch. All right, that deactivates the transmission to let off. So one, like if they top it off a grain cart or something like that, it's kind of nice. You can step on the clutch, let off the pedal, or not the clutch, step on the brake, let off the brake, step on the brake. It's got a function called auto clutch. Okay, IVT has it, E23 has it. Your power shift does not have it, so don't try it. Okay? Unless you step on it really hard, maybe you'll kill the engine, and then it works like kind of an auto brake. And the last one is the Deere's, the 8400R. I don't know if you knew this or not, but the largest 8000 series tractor is a 400 horse 8R tractor now. The only transmission that you can get on that tractor is E23s. Cannot get the 16-speed power shift, cannot get IVT. I'm not prepared to tell you why that is. I don't know all the reasons why, but just FYI, if you're looking for a large, I mean large, horsepower tractor, like bigger than what four-wheel drives used to be. So E23 is in the 8400R.
Again, good morning. I'm Phil McGinnis, customer service rep on the lower half of our territory. Thanks for everybody coming back. It's obvious you didn't know I was going to be the next one speaking, or you probably wouldn't have came back in here. Anyway, everybody's waiting for the weather to turn to where we can actually get out and do something, get the fields dried out. One of the things we want to hit on is the spring service for you guys. As you can see, our sales going on right now for a filter sale. We're stocked up, plenty of filters. You guys either call in, come in and see us at any of our locations, and we'll get you taken care of, get your orders put together. If you have questions on those, you can get a hold of myself, Matt, any of our parts departments. Yes, Amy?
Can you let them know that even though it says Rensselaer, DeMont, Fowler, we'll still honor it?
Yes, throughout all of our locations, we're still going to honor 12% off through the end of this month. The other thing, some of you I work with already, some of you I don't, or you may not be aware of it, is our bulk oil program that we offer. We can set you up with totes. We also have the reels, hose reels, preset metered reels that we can put on the totes. For those of you that would rather do that than have to carry a jug each time back and forth to the tractor, we have a delivery truck that will come right to your location, fill the totes for you. We'll set the totes up if it's something you're interested in. Do the plus 50 and or the high guard oil. It's a good program. There's money savings on it, and it helps a lot of guys out in the long run that don't want to have to run to town in the middle of the season. They can pull right up to the shop and everything's there and ready to go for them. And we also offer the parts cabinets where we can stock the filters for you in the cabinets. I make a book generally on all of ours. I'll make a book up for you per machine, what filters, how many they take, and usually set the filter cabinet up to where when you walk up to it, you open the book and it's in that cabinet, and it's usually for the tractor, the combine, the lawnmower, so on and so forth. If that's something you guys be interested in, give either one of us a call, and we'd be more than happy to take care of you on that. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to Matt.
Hi, I'm Matt with customer service rep for the northern half of our territory. I'm just going to do a quick talk today on, we have a parts display over here. Our parts managers are here to answer any questions on those, and you'll have free time to talk about that with them. We're going to keep this short and sweet. What I want to talk about is we want you to have the best experience you can have when you come in our store to pick up a part. Us asking discovery questions at the counter to help you get the right part is good. You being able to answer those are even better. And I don't know that anybody realizes how many different Max-Emerge planters there are. And you come in our store and you say you have a 1770 planter and I need a chain for it. Is it a 1770 NT, number one, or is it just a regular 1770? Is it a Max-Emerge Plus, a Max-Emerge XP? Does it have Pro Series? Is it vacuum? And is it finger pickup? I mean, those are just some of the questions we're going to ask you. If you have the answers to those questions, you will get the right part. If you don't, you may not get the right part, and then that is bad for everybody. And we want to keep you up and going in the field. So that will help out a lot of different ways, but there are tons of different Maximers. Even though they look the same, they're not the same, and I'm pretty sure you all know that. Same way with the tractor. You come in for a filter and you tell us you have an 8320 and you have an 8320R, I guarantee you will get the wrong fuel filter every time. So just the numbering system is what it is, and we have to deal with it. Our parts people should ask the right question of, is it an R, is it a tier 3, or is it a tier 4, or is it an FT4? And because all that varies. So we're here to serve you, help you. If you have any problems, please let us know. And these guys are here to answer your questions, and you can beat up on them all day long.
Exactly. That.
On
your guys' equipment, a lot of guys, some people are very private on what they have. They don't like people knowing what's in their tool shed. Usually the assessor's office, but anyway. If we haven't or do not already have your PIN numbers and serial numbers for your equipment in your customer profile at your dealership that you deal with on a daily basis, if you can provide those, bring a list of your equipment into us, we will put that into your customer profile, where when you call in or come in, all our parts guys have to do is go to it, click on it, bring your serial number up, because so many things are serial number specific, and it can throw all the parts off depending on what you're getting. Anyway, we can put that in the system. That way our parts guys can click right on it, go to the serial number, and you get the right part the first time, and then you don't have to call back and chew on us for giving you the wrong part. So anyway, thank you.
Just a reminder, I'm Mike Rowitz. I'm the Integrated Solutions up at the Valparaiso store. I'm going to do some IS related stuff. Want to talk about the current lineup of our AMS equipment. There's been some changes recently, just so you're all aware. What we have, the current display is the 4640. It's a Gen 4 display similar to what comes on the armrest of newer tractors. It's a portable screen. We now have a 4240. Talk about that in a little bit, but it's a smaller screen, similar to the 4640. And we still have 2630s available, because there's some functions that the 2630 does that the Gen 4 still doesn't do. So we can still need to do 2630 if you're looking for one of those. Current receivers are the Starfire 6000s. The government is shutting down signals that the ITC uses for auto steers. So there's, I think it's 2020, the ITC receivers will not be able to, 2021 will not be able to be used anymore. So if you have a receiver that says Starfire ITC on the side, you need to be talking with your dealer about getting that replaced. We had the ATU for a while now, but we have a new version of it, the ATU 300. It has a little bit of changes in the calibration of it. It no longer has calibration numbers, it's self-calibrating, so that's a good feature of that one, but we'll talk about more about that in a little bit. And we do still have auto track controller. We can put a John Deere controller in off-brand machines, and you can use your John Deere screen and receiver to auto steer, like a Case IH Magnum or a Quad Track. And then of course the integrated auto track is what comes from the factory on the new tractors, but we can integrate some of the older models too, if you want to add that to an older tractor. The 4240 display, one of the neat things about it is waterproof, so you can use it on open station tractors. So if you have a tractor that you use for hay, example, you want to use it outside, we do have a screen that you can use now. It has a 8.4-inch screen. Again, it has the new Gen 4 interface, similar to the newer tractors. It costs about $5,500 for the screen, but that includes the auto track unlock. It includes documentation and variable rate as well for that price. If you just need a screen for a planter monitor and you're using you're putting in a red tractor and you're using the Trimble or whatever auto steer their machine, you can order that screen less auto track. It's a $3,000 deduct, so it's for $2,500 you can get a base screen. This would be your planter monitor. The big difference on these portable screens than what we're used to in the past is your advanced levels are subscription based. So if you want section control and data sync, it's going to be an annual cost of $600. It's not a $3,000 unlock like it was on the 2630 where you have it for life. It's a $600 per year fee that you pay. So if you don't want to use section control 1 year, you don't have to pay for it that year. But if you want to use section control, it's going to cost you $600 to turn it on for a year.
That per screen?
Per screen.
Mike, we do have 4640, 4240, and 18.
Yep, we have a 4640 screen, a 4240 screen, and the new ATU sitting over on the parts table. If you want to take a look at them at lunch or after the program's over, if you want to see what they look like. The ATU 300 pretty much just does the same thing as ATU 200 did. You just take your steering wheel off, you mount it on there, and then the motor inside of it will turn your steering column and drive the tractor. The big difference on this one too is it is weather resistant. So this is what you would pair with that weatherproof 4240 screen on an open station tractor. Price on that is about $1,700, but then you'll have some additional, harnesses and anti-rotation brackets on top of that. A quick video.
In farming, timing is everything, especially during planting and harvest. You expect reliability from John Deere, but things happen in the field, and you need support fast. Now with connected support, we're more capable than ever. When you buy a new John Deere, it's equipped with technology to alert you and us of potential issues sooner rather than later.
JD-Link helps me keep tabs on my operation. I can make sure quality job is being done and make decisions faster.
The technology behind John Deere Connected Support is advanced, but the benefits are simple. It saves you time and money.
JD-Link red alerts notify me and my dealer instantly. That way, if there's a problem, I can stop. The dealer can then send the technician out sooner, which cuts my downtime and saves me money.
Service Advisor Remote, I can view machine data remotely. I can diagnose the problem before I leave the dealership. That way I have the right tools and parts on my first trip. Sometimes I don't even have to make a trip. I can reprogram remotely and push software updates directly to your machine.
The Expert Alerts tool helps monitor your machine's health and anticipate future failures, so we can schedule repairs and maintenance on your terms. The Machine Health Dashboard gives us a comprehensive overview of all your JD-Link connected machines. If a technician has to make a service call, he can take care of any other issues with your fleet during the same visit, saving you time and money.
My dealer can't be in the field with me at all times, but with remote display access and JD-Link, he doesn't have to be. He can view my screen and machine settings and suggest adjustments for my crop conditions.
John Deere Connected Support helps us keep you running. Ask your dealer about Connected Support today.
So there's a lot of cool features that are available with JD-Link, and the JD-Link for the basic diagnostic stuff, there's no fee for that subscription. So what is required for your tractor to be able to be connected to the internet so we can dial in, we can proactively, diagnose the tractor before we come to the field and do stuff like that, remote program it from the store, saving you time, getting you back up and running faster. What it requires is an MTG terminal, and starting in about 2010, most machines started coming from the factory with these MTG terminals. So if you have a newer tractor, your tractor probably has an MTG terminal in it. But we do have reverse compatibility back to 30 series tractors, and the list is up there of everything we can get full compatibility in with an MTG. But basically anything with a 12-volt battery, we can put an MTG in to have it call in. There's a note up there in red. Some of the early ones were 2G MTGs. The phone company no longer supports 2G. So if you have an older 2G modem, it is no longer able to dial in. If you're in that position, or if you have a machine that doesn't have an MTG and you're looking to get some of these features that JD Link has to offer, we do have the 4G MTG upgrade kits available. The kit right now is $600, and that includes a 1-year subscription to the JD Link Connect, which is the step up from the free JD Link subscription, which gives you the wireless data transfer also. There's a Deere promotion going on. There's a $400 savings on that. So the final cost is $200 plus the installation cost on that 4G upgrade kit. And installation's been around $800 or so to install one of those. So to go to that next step, if you want to do the wireless data transfer, where when you're planting this spring, that your planting maps are automatically being backed up in the cloud, or if you have a service provider that's writing prescriptions and you want him to be able to send a prescription to your tractor while you're out in the field, that requires the wireless data transfer. You have to have a compatible display. The older 2600 screens, 1800s, brown boxes don't have the Ethernet port that's required to hook to the MTG. So we have to have at least a 2630. We can do wireless data transfer with Gen 4 screens. The 4600 and the 4200 are the armrest mounted versions of the Gen 4. And again, the 4640 and the 4240 are the portable ones that we have over on the table over there. You also have to have that Ethernet cable. So your tractor may have the MTG, you might have the compatible screen, but in order for those two to talk, it's got to communicate through this Ethernet cable. So this might be the only part that you're lacking to be able to do the wireless data transfer. Last, you got to have that JD Link Connect subscription. It's right now the current price is $300 per year per machine, but it's on sale to the end of May for $200 per year per machine. So if you are using wireless data transfer, now's the time to get that renewed while the price is discounted. And if you go into your operations center and click on your machine details, that's where you can find your subscription status if you're curious on that, or you can go into Stellar Support. I want to touch a little bit on some of the new features in the operations center. So the operations center, Deere's constantly improving it, but it's come a long way, especially in the last year. There's some pretty handy new features that we have available. One thing you notice if you haven't been in here in a while is they've changed the way the navigation works. You have your dice button up here, your window pane. And you click on that, it's a lot easier to switch between tools that you might use in the operations center. Your machines will be listed here, any of your machines that are JD Link capable. You can click on your tractor. It's going to show you the last time that tractor called in, which this one is sitting outside here. So it shows that it's out in the parking lot at the Fair Oaks. It shows that how much fuel is in it. We can initiate a remote display access. So if you have a hired man in the machine, you have that Ethernet cable, and he has a question on the screen, you can come in here and click that button, and you can see what he's seeing on his screen. We have the field list below that. That's where all your fields are going to be listed. We click on a field, it's going to take us to where that's at. Get a summary of it. The info button here is where we go if we have multiple fields that are the same, just slightly different names. This is where we come to merge those. Change the name of the field. This button here is our field analyzer. That is where we go to view our maps. If you're coming in the field analyzer, there's a link up here to the field analyzer beta. That is the newest version of the field analyzer. So if we go ahead and click on that, it's going to take us to it's going to give us the message, but we'll continue on to the beta to let you know that some features, or the features are in testing. So what's new? We can come in here, for example, this corn map from 2015, and we now have the ability to select an area of the field and see what that area is yielding. So if we want to see what the yield was in this spot of the field right here, the neighbor sprayed some dicamba that drifted into our field, and we want to let them know what our yield hit was there. Down here, it's going to tell us the yield in that spot was 224. Here we go. The bushels per acre was 125. The 126.9 is your field average. So the area that we selected was 1.8 acres out of the 92, or 92 and a half of that field. So the first number is what you selected. The one in parentheses is your whole field average. So you can compare how that area did to the rest of the field. Another tool we have is the data analysis tool. We can take our operation, which is the corn harvest, and we can divide it up by any sorts of things. So we can come in here and we can pick the planting map from that year, pick variety, and it's going to break down the yield in that field by the two varieties that were recorded when it was planted. So we can see that the variety 1 averaged 140 bushels an acre, but variety 2 only averaged 131. We can do stuff like elevation. We can break it down and see what the yield was at each elevation level in the field. You can see that the feet above sea level and the yield in that area. So sometimes that's really useful because you can look back and see that the low spots in the field were the ones that really hurt you. That must have been a wet year that year. Or the other way, if it's the high spots are we're dinging you, maybe we didn't receive enough moisture that year. But we can, with this tool, we can divide that yield layer by any other operation layer. We've also made some changes to the land manager. We're just going to create a new field. So we can come down here, we click on the plus. We can create a new boundary in that field. You can create a new boundary by drawing on the map, or if you had the previous operation, you can use that to snap the boundary around it. So we can come in here and click save. Now we got our field. Now we're to the point where I wanted to show you what we can do. We can come in here and let's say we want to have our A-B lines ready to go. If we have good boundaries in our field, we can come in here and create A-B lines now before we head to the field. So we come in here, you go to plus, you pick track, you put in the width of your planter, so you have a 16 row planter, you put in your 40 feet, you hit next. Come in here and let's say we're going to plant along this side here. My boundary's not very good, but we click here and click here. I don't know if you noticed that. You can see that. If I zoom in, it automatically put that line 20 feet over from our boundary. So when you get to the field, your A-B line is going to be 20 feet over from your edge of the field. You'll be ready to start auto steer. So we'll name this Plant 18. So now the A-B line shows up in our field. And if we had any existing A-B lines, they would be there as well. And you can come in there. If you had one that was on an angle that you had for tillage that you're not going to use again, you can also select lines and delete them too. So that's one of the neat features now that we can do in the land manager part of it. Any questions on stuff we could do on the operations center? That's everything we plan on showing.
Is there an annual fee for this?
Nope. The operations center is free to use. We'll even come out and help you set up your account. We can transfer your information that was in Apex over to it. Just let us know.
I don't know if you mentioned, Mike, but more and more it seems like I got to use Google Chrome to work in this versus the Internet Explorer. Maps won't open or things like that.
Yeah, if you couldn't hear Brian, but Google Chrome seems to be the most compatible browser to use the Operations Center. We like to use Google Chrome. If you want to get directly to the Operations Center, it's just my.deere.com. It's a quick way to go right to the Operations Center. If you have any problems, issues, anything AMS related, remember we have our hotline, 1-866-92-CASTRAC. That will ring both of Brian and my phone, so you can get the help you need the quickest.
Just another thing I want to bring up, in the barn lot, you know, you can check a lot of things and avoid some service calls in the field. There's some screens in the displays you can go into. If you have variable rate drive, you can do a variable rate drive valve flush. Kind of clear all that out from the hydraulic blocks. And then you can also test your seed tube sensors from the display. You have your meters off, your hopper box is off. You can drop gravel down through there, whatever. You can use a screwdriver. What I do with seed sensors are sensing. And you can test pretty much every other sensor on here that you need to, and that can avoid a lot of service calls early on in the field.
Hey Cameron, one thing on that. Guys, on 3-point hitch hookups, you got the auto track, everybody wants a straight row, right? Because the neighbor's gonna look at my row and make sure it's straight and that guess row is right and all that good stuff, right? So with that in mind, there's actually sway blocks on your 3-point arm. You wanna make sure them sway blocks are tight, because if they're not tight, what will happen is that planter will drift right or left, throw you off 3 inches this way. Well, when you come back, if it's thrown 3 inches off this way, we took a 30-inch row and made it 24, right? So with that in mind, that's a good thing to kind of, because when you go to your VT tool or your ripper or anything else that's 3-point hitch or your snow blade in the winter when you're plowing snow with your planting tractor, you're going to want it to sway a little bit. But here we want everything good and tight.
And make sure they're in easy. the same on both sides.
Yep. Guys, the main reason I see behind that flush that he's talking about is if you don't flush the SCVs, when you unhook it, there's dirt, right? I mean, I don't care how clean you are. I know how clean it is on my farm. We're pretty freaking clean. But you still get dirt in the hydraulic system. It's going to happen. That's why I put filters on everything. If it was a perfect world, we wouldn't have filters, right? It'll damage the blades. So what happens if it's damaging the blades, you're going to get that misshaped seed bed, right? Together, go through. You want to check that every year. The gap between them, if you take two business cards, is going to be 2 to 2.5 to 1.5 inches. I've heard there's different guys that like different numbers. But if you run between 1.5 inches and 2.5 inches, you're good. The thing I see is if you put a new blade on there, right? It's black, it's shiny, it's painted. I just paid, I don't know what they cost. For this blade, it's black and shiny, but that paint's going to wear off as soon as it goes into the dirt, right? I mean, that first, second, third, fourth round, them blades ain't black anymore. They're metal. So that paint does take up a little bit. So what happens is now your dimension has changed. So you want to take that into consideration when you're putting new blades on a planter.
Always replacing the bearers.
Yep.
One versus the other. You're going to have different depth. It's going to mess up your seed placement.
And guys, there is shims in behind there. So if you're taking the shim off, don't just put 10 shims on one side and 2 shims on the other. It's going to cause a problem. I've seen it, been through it. It's not cool because then you got 16 rows of guys. We got to go through and fix real quick so we can get planting in that optimal days of planting that we have. Scrapers, guys. Basically, some sandier soil, dirtier soil, soil that is going to fall off the blade, you might not need them. I know some guys don't run them, some guys do run them. That's custom preference. If you see you're running some sandy soil where you're having problems with the disc blades moving or going through the soil, you can also eliminate the scrapers.
You get down and when you take your gauge wheel off, you can see in there to your seed tube column cards. Make sure they're not worn off. Then obviously if they're not there, you can have damage to your seed tube.
So on that note, guys, if the bottom of that seed tube gets cracked, your seed placement isn't going to be right? So if you got a crack in it, just like if you go down your roads out here, they're pretty rough, potholy. Well, if that corn's coming down or the soybeans are coming down the seed tube, if you look in there, it's a nice smooth transition down through there. You get some cracks in there or breaks, that seed's going to float around in there and then we're not in the right place. Just like you'd be if you're going down the road and you hit a pothole and it pulls you to the left or pulls you to the right. So,
Gauge wheel moves, big thing. You want to have that lip up against that opener, no more than a 1/16 of an inch. They'll have that on these boots with stalks and stems of bean stubble. Chunks missing out of them, not good any good. Just replace those. And then for closing wheels, I always measure on the inside edge that should be between 3/4 to an inch for it to be for that trench to close real good. Otherwise you have to adjust them or you might have a bearing problem with them. You never know. Two I look at, when I pull the planter out, I look at my back hoses. They all get weathered, they all crack, mice chew holes in them. Big thing to look for. And even the boxes. I mean, there is some on the older version planters, we went from fiberglass to plastic. I have seen these plastic ones break. I have seen the lids where they don't seal that great where we lose vacuums. So it's another thing to look at too, guys.
Put your knocker wheel on.
On them vacuum meters, guys, them brushes in there, guys, are like, oh, it's just a brush, right? Well, if you're using a broom in your house or shop to clean the thing and the broom's all deformed, you're not sweeping the floor very good, right? Same principle we have when we're going through with the brushes on them meters. If the brushes ain't acting right, get away from that thing. If the brushes ain't acting right or it's messing around in there, the talc that you got, too much talc, not enough talc, that stuff will play a factor in there. And if that talc gets hard on that brush, guys, it's going to wear out that disc you have in there. With that disc being wore out, you're not having right seed placement. As Brian was talking earlier, in that the speech he was giving about emergence, seed spacing, and all that stuff, it's very important deals to get it. And if that disc is messed up, you're going to have problems with that. So if the brush is messed up, the knocker's not out that Cannon was talking about, or you left that the flapper in there from soybeans to corn, because I know how it goes. I got the planter out, I'm good, right? I hooked her up, Cameron showed me how to do that at the clinic, I'm excellent, right? Unfolded it, let's go, put the seed in the box, and of course, you guys filled the box, right? Because it's planting time. We're gonna fill her up. Now I've got to take that pound and a half, 3 bushel box off there to take and lift it, get it up, get that changed, you're gonna have a problem with that. So guys, when you're switching from corn to soybeans, make sure you did the 16th row and not just only 15, or the 23, you forgot 24, or vice versa. Make sure it doesn't hurt to go back and double check that stuff. I've been through that where the guy had the bean disc in when we were planting corn, so it caused a little bit of an issue.
Talking about impellers.
Yeah, go ahead.
Your impellers, guys, don't want to look like this at all. It doesn't hurt to go back, pull that cover off, kind of look it out, make sure your motors, your vac motors aren't even leaking any oil. We're going to have trouble down the road trying to hold vacuum or any problems, or even grenade out of it. Good thing to look at these and make sure that they're not worn and your motors aren't leaking, which is going to cause you problems in that aspect.
Does anybody know why that happened? I know I've seen it. I had a couple planter inspections I did. There's a lot of dirt that ran through there. Guys, at the end of the night, it's not a bad idea to pop them caps off the ends. Let the vacuum blow all that dirt out of the tubes, because if you got dirt running across metal, it's going to wear it out, right? Just like it wears out the seed kits that we're going through there. So if there's dirt and talc running through your vacuum system, it's going to mess up the impeller. But if you leave that dirt in there, it's going to get deeper and deeper, and then we got vacuum problems, right? So we're back to not getting the right vacuum for what we wanted to plant.
How big are those fins to begin with?
What's that?
How big are those fins to begin with?
Not real tall. I mean,
No, they're only about yay big, and it depends if you have an older an old vacuum system or the newer vacuum system. Serial numbers on planters that Phil and Matt were talking about are very important. I know I had a guy call in and said, I got a 1770, the vacuum blew up, and I got to get planting. Okay, so I rush out there. I didn't check serial number. So I grabbed the wrong impeller and the wrong motor and the wrong housing. So them 3 things around a vacuum meter are very important to make sure you're getting the right serial number with what's going on.
And that goes back to anything for planters.
Have they changed those over the years? We've had older plants, like a jet airplane, the newer ones are quieter.
Yeah, they actually changed. I don't know if there's a Deere guy that can explain that a little better or not, but I think they changed the vanes and the housing design of it. So the way it sucks and brings anything, the way it's coming up in there. I don't know if you guys noticed on a newer planter, they got the tubes on there for the vacuums. That helps keep the talc down and everything. That also disturbs the noise that you're not noticing as bad. Okay, guys, on closing wheels, I know Jeremy was talking about making sure they're the right spacing. Why does that matter? I mean, it's just close. It's just got to put dirt over the top of the seed, right? Well, if the bushings are out or the bearings out, that wheel's going to sit there and do this, right? All the way across the field. Well, if it's doing that, it's actually going to come in and push down. Thanks, Roger. Appreciate it. These bushings here that go inside here, if this piece is expensive, right? This piece is cheap, right? I mean, so what happens is this bushing will get bounced around in here. So if the bushing moves, this moves, right? So now we're walking, if one bushing's out on one side, it's walking down through the field, we're just doing this. When the planter was new, it's bringing it straight down the row, or we put new bushings in. It keeps the closing wheel over the top, down the center, to make sure it puts even pressure on top of the seed and packs the side walls. The walls that are in there from the seed trench are now packed a little bit. It won't have the dirt falling in or material falling in, hopefully it's not mud, falling in to keep the seed and make sure it's in the right spot. But if that is off, your seed will run on top and it'll actually push down. That closing wheel will actually push your seed farther in the ground. So I'm digging, I got her set. I know these guys have probably been down this before. You know, you get out with the guy, I have checked the planter over, I know it, you know, I know everything about a planter, right? Okay, but the problem was, he never checked this. So now he's wanting to change his seed depth, right? He's got her too deep. Well, now he went through the field and we dug again, and it's too shallow. Man, what's happening? You guys been down that before? Man, I don't know what we're gonna do. Well, I found out, and it took a couple years of experience in this, and a couple older guys to tell me, hey, idiot, look at this. That this wheel was actually moving over top of it, causing a problem. So every little thing on a planter row unit, it might just be the same 16 rows or 24 or 6 or 4 or 5, whatever row planter you have. If the metals wore out, you're going to mess up your seed planting. And as you guys all well know, the planter is one of the most important pieces that we can use to get started, right? Because if the seed ain't in the ground right, we're messed up. Now you're going to hear me say that a couple more times because I like to kind of imprint it in people's minds. The planter is the most important piece to make sure we get the seed right? Okay.
The parallel, going back to the bushings, the parallel arms the same way. I mean, you know, it's kind of hard to lift them up, but you know, to kind of take some weight off and wiggle them around, you can tell if your parallel bushings are out or bad or not. You might not be able to, I think.
But yeah, that is very important. Yeah, stop sign on the side. Guys, if that's getting off, your seed placement's off, right? Because that's what connects it to the planter, right? I mean, his camera's talking. That bolts it directly on with some new bolts right to the planter, and if that part's not straight and it's walking, you're going to have problems. Any questions so far? I mean, I know we're talking fast. I don't know how much time we got left. I never took. I got lots on.
You're good on time. You have plenty of time.
Excellent. I like that. I got 3 hours left. I think I can talk for 3 more hours.
In the lids.
The knocker's actually in the lid.
It's so what it does is help make sure that the seed falls out when it needs to down the seed tube right here.
I've never seen that.
Well, do you guys have 30 cell or 40 cell?
I don't.
Or do you run precision?
So you probably run a 30 cell if you don't see any of this. 30 cell.
Yeah, so you wouldn't see this. This is for 40 cell. No, it just makes sure that the seed gets out when it needs to drop down the seed tube with the right spacing.
So that brings up another good point with that. Guys, there's 30 cell, 40 cell, or ProMax 40, and then there's precision that you guys are all running. Do take into consideration when you're talking or calling in what you do have on there. Because like there, our parts guy could have gave you a different seal, different knocker, you know, because the 30 cell doesn't have that option on it.
And you can upgrade your 30 cells to the 40 with the double eliminator.
Actual knockout.
Yeah, there's that one. I don't know. Yes, I don't really know what to tell you, but whatever it is, it's going to be less.
Well, I use
well, for the no, I mean to upgrade.
So talking about that upgrading from a 30 to 40. So what it helps is this: you install this knocker. What that knocker does is, I don't know if you guys have dumped the bottom of the seed box bag out. You clean out the different varieties. You notice you have them little bitty kernels in there. What happens is that little bitty kernel will get in the seed disc here, and then it's stuck. So every time I come around with this meter, 39 of them's planting, 40's gone, right? So now I have a skip every little bit. That's one of the benefits to upgrading to a 40 cell. Also, it runs a little more vacuum. I noticed you got refuge in a bag now, right? So if you pull it out, and I noticed this, I was running some meters this spring. Guys brought me refuge in a bag seed. I was running it, and I noticed, man, I got a lot of skips. I can't get these dialed in. You know, yesterday I dialed in with this other guy's seed, and I had perfect. Man, what am I doing wrong? Well, come to find out, what had happened is the seed the guy gave me was a big, small, big, small. It was the bottom. He gave me the seed that was cleaning out the planter, and I did not know it. So what had happened is I had a little bit of some big seeds, some little seeds. He had this variety in here. I had Bex, I had Calb, I had Pioneer. I had a little bit of everything. So what happens with that is I couldn't get the planter set or couldn't get my meter set to where I needed to be. I love the ProMax 40.
Yeah, and going with the ProMax 40, I mean, I guess what the theory behind it is the meter's gonna be slowed down allowing you to be more accurate the faster you go, and a different population. So when I run them on a test stand, I can definitely see a difference from a 30 cell to a 40 cell John Deere. I mean,
and what it takes to, and I might be wrong on this, if anybody corrects me, because I've only done a few of them, switch it from a 30 to a 40. Guys usually update the planters before we get a chance to do that. I don't know what the cost effect of it is, because that's all over, but I think all your changing, Cameron, and they got it as a kit, if I remember right.
$1,500 for 16.
How much?
$1,500 to do everything.
Okay, so that kind of gives you an idea of where we're at. And all they're changing, I think, if I remember right, is you get the knocker, the lid, and your seed disc.
in your double eliminator.
And the double eliminator. Speaking of that,
Which is Justin, on the older planters.
Yep.
Older 1770s and that, sometimes we're gonna replace that pump also.
Okay. Yeah, I've only done a couple of them.
And if you do go from a 30 cell to a 40 cell, your population will change.
Right.
So that's in the manual. Make sure you got your planter set for what disc you have.
That double eliminator. Go ahead and point it out up there.
So that's the double eliminator on this style, but like the upgrading, it would look different. It's gonna have a knob on the back side. You would loosen the screw to adjust it, whereas this one just has a
knob right in front.
Yeah, a knob on the front there. Then the model between this and the 30 cell, they had it on the back side of the meter. You just popped it loose or turned it in and then spun it to your height.
So guys, that double eliminator and knockout basically does exactly what it sounds like. Your double eliminator is keeping the two seeds from going down, so we eliminate the doubles. Which basically when you're looking, and Cameron and Jeremy both know, when you're running that double eliminator, you're going to see part of a hole here. You don't want the whole hole covered, but you want part of it covered. So if you have questions on that, and you're worried about it, grab a box, bring it into one of us, and we'll explain it perfectly. Because everybody's planter is a little different, right? You know, everything's a little different. Every way everybody does something is a little different.
Yeah, you would be amazed to see on a stand the difference in doubles from a 40 cell to a 30 cell. I guess is the biggest thing. I mean, the singulation is, you're talking, I don't know, I would say 96% to 98% on a 30 cell, where I can get 99.6 higher on a 40 cell John Deere meter, so, which is right there with a precision E-set, but a lot less replaceable parts inside of them.
Right.
So that's 40, was that the one they usually go 10 miles an hour?
No, that's actually this one over here on this test stand. Guys, that brings up another thing. If we're running at that 10, how many guys got ExactEmerge planters in here?
I don't think anybody.
Nobody has? All right, I'll just do a brief little talk about it here. So with that in mind, guys, you're planting at 10 mile an hour, just like if you're switching there, you're going from 5 to 6. I don't know if guys noticed that when you're watching your singulation or anything. The faster you go, the more seeds that get knocked off on that, right? The faster you go here, it's a belt driven. The seed, the bowl, everything will go right into it. It's an easy transition. It'll bring it down right to the belt drive. Guys, the ExactEmerge, they've got it figured out. I don't want to go too much in it because a lot of guys don't have it. But it is, and there is retrofit kits, if I remember right, guys, right? Yeah. We can retrofit your oak planter to the ExactEmerge. I know it's going to be a little more cost. I know planters are expensive. You know, I've heard that back and forth. But I do see
2005 and up.
2005 and up? Okay. And if you do that, you have to have a newer tractor than a 30 series, right? Or 20 or 30, if I remember right. So with that in mind, make sure when you're talking to somebody, if you want to retrofit one, that you talk about what tractor you have on the front and what monitor system you're using in the cab, because that's all going to play a big key role in that. You want to talk about gauge wheels? Why this is? Hold on. Right here, this arm. I got you. On that gauge wheel arm, guys, you get divots in it, right? So last year I planted in 4-4. That's where I'm going to this year. Wait a minute. I'm deeper. Why am I deeper? Well, I didn't look at it. Jeremy's got that arm over there. What happens is the holder, that little flapper you see in there has now wore out, right? Because metal wears every day, banging through the field at 6 miles an hour, trying to get everything done. That arm is wore. Well, if that arm wears too much, what will happen, been here, seen this, guy didn't know it until we got corn coming out of the ground, right? His emergence was way off on one row. What had happened is the mustache in there, I call it, takes and wears a hole right in where Jeremy's got his finger there. And what happened is it flipped past it, right? So now that mustache just went from turning this way to turning sideways. Guy's drunk, right? He fell down, his mustache goes sideways. So at that mind, he's got that mustache sideways. Now how deep is that corn or soybeans going, right? It's going as deep as it can go. Now we have a problem, right? Now that, you know, because you wouldn't have noticed that until you got out to check seed depth or got out to fill the planter that we had a problem, or you might not notice it until it's too late. So guys, that is another part of that you got to kind of look at when you're looking it over. Because I know Cameron and me are talking about this. I don't do as many inspections as I used to because corn is $3.50. You know, beans are not $14 beans, right? So you guys are going to go out and look at it. You guys are going to check it over. Like I said, there is nothing in this world I hate more than a guy says, "Well, I didn't want to ask that question because I was afraid," right? I didn't want anybody else to know what was going on. Guys, there is no dumb question. And if these gauge wheel arms are bad, you're kind of questioning it. Hey guys, what do you think? Take a 24 millimeter, bring it off, take it to one of us. We'll look at it and say, yep, you need to do something, or no. Go ahead, you can run that another year. You know, we'll try getting a little bit of goodie out of it. But if you're questioning it and you have a question, ask. The other thing I usually talk about a little bit is some pneumatic down pressure. What's right? Right, Tom? What's the right pressure to run down? There is none. That's right. That is the hardest thing to explain. What's the magic number I should put in there, right? Because we all like numbers. I like to just put this number in there and go, right? Well, that all depends on the soil type. And I know Cameron and Jeremy have probably seen this. If you got work ground, you run this amount of pressure. If you got loose ground, you run this amount of pressure. Guys, basically when you get that down pressure on there, you get out, you stop the planter. You want to make sure that gauge wheel will spin a little bit. You don't want it so hard that when you go back there, you got to, takes all I can to get it to move. But you also don't want to go back there and take and just, you know, Indy 500 that baby and spin it around in a circle, right? You want a little bit of down pressure, but not too much. Now that's another question. I know we're doing startups, you know, where we come out and help you get started up. And I know it's only in that field that we're there for and different things like that. But it will help you say, okay, is this too much? Is this not enough? Do I need a little more? Do I need a little less? So when we start you guys up, we're not just coming out there to say, yep, planter looks good, we're good to go, right? We're there to help make sure that you're getting all your seeds in place where they need to be and when they need to be there. Because if you get too much sidewall compaction, what's going to happen is now you got a hard spot, right? We all like hard pans, right? Let's make that around our seed. You know, seed gets the first 5 minutes in the ground, it's around the hardest. You know, you pack that sidewall in, you pack it in with the closing wheel. You know, I got the closing wheel as tight as she'll go. I got down pressure turned up. Well, now everything's tight. Well, if everything's tight, what happens is now you got a rock around there, right? I get a little bit of rain, that ground's like concrete now, right? I mean, so now we have a problem. If you don't have enough, now it's just a flood, right? Because now if there's nothing to hold it there, it's just going to let that seed fall down around there. So to tell you what the perfect number is in there, what I like to tell guys, and I know these guys probably seen it too, and I know it's kind of a discussion we have up north every spring when guys are asking us, what do we tell them, you know? I like to just see that gauge wheel have a little bit of pressure against it, so it's not crazy tight, but it's not Indy 500 loose. Because again, the planter is the most important piece of equipment that you're going to have going through the field in the spring. Guys, on that, the running of the meters and everything, guys are like, well, I don't know if I really need to do that, right? You probably don't need to do it every year. I get that. But the one thing nice about running them every couple years or going through them is we get a chance to look at them. Again, we can tell you, yeah, there's bearings in there, in that hub. You want to make sure we got that set right. The disc tightness to the hub is going to change when it wears out because you're putting talc in there, you're not putting talc in there. Oh, I just got a little bit and that rain's coming, I got time to throw talc in, I got to go, right? So now that talc is actually lubricant in there and it ain't there. So you're wearing on that plate, which I get it, I've been there. Been farming with my father my whole life, so I get that. It's when it's time to go, it's time to go. But if we don't do the steps to make sure things are right, things do wear out, which I know. So in now time, it's not a bad idea to go through and just take and have guys run them real quick. I know it doesn't take you guys long. You guys got a test stand down and follower? No, but if they don't, they can ship it up to Rensselaer or Valpo. We can run them up there and you know, go through the meters. But guys, that's a pretty big thing. And I had one guy, I'm going to go through my meters, I'm going to put them seals on, I'm going to put the brushes in, and I'm going to bring the meters for you to run. Okay? Sounds good, right? So he brought me the meters, and I'm like, something ain't right here. I'm getting a couple rows that just ain't right. Well, I pulled the seal out, guys, and the dirt, when he pulled the seal out that was underneath the new seal, was holding it up. Well, then it created a bubble effect. So every time that meter came around, I had an air pocket where the vacuum was escaping. So just like if you take a straw and you put it in your water, your pop or whatever, and you hold it over the end of it, if you let off of it or partially let off of it, everything's going to go out the bottom, right? So if it's going out the bottom, same thing happens with your seed. It's not staying up there, it falls out. So I was having a skip. And if there is no kernel there, that means no profit, right? No big 10-inch here, you know, this big around, 300 bushel corn. So guys, that's kind of what I've seen, and I know these guys have seen some too, and different things like that. But is there any questions so far? Am I talking too fast? Not fast enough? Go ahead.
I got $1 million question for the tech guys from John Deere.
Okay.
Does your talc have asbestos in it?
Does it have asbestos in the talc, guys?
I would highly doubt it.
Okay, we're going to go with a no. That's what they're going to say. So, guys, I know there's a lot of different talcs out there. And how much talc, that brings up a very good question about things. How much talc do I use, right? That label don't make sense to me. I'm just going to dump talc in and go. I ain't got time to measure. Guys, that talc can be a big thing, especially if you're running a blower planter, so a CCS planter. If you're running boxes, 3 bushel boxes, or if you're running the 1.5. So, say I'm in a hurry and I'm just going to dump this talc in, we got to get going. I didn't put enough talc in, right? Now we have no lubrication on the, and I notice it more on beans, treated beans, that I don't get the pop, my rows are all over. You know, I got 140,000 on this row, I got 145,000 on that row, and I got 135,000 on this row. So that messes up the 3,000, you know, we want to kind of keep it in the 3,000 seeds per acre.
And it's got to be right too as far as CCS planters go, because I've seen a lot of issues going out to a field of guys saying one row's not getting seed. Well, they're either over-talced, they're most time over-talced from the seed company, and it's sticking, not allowing to go through the CCS blower tubes to the row.
I've also seen, I don't know if you guys have, where the guys they're treating them right before, and now we got a clump of beans together, right? So now we have a problem. That's what the arm is underneath the tank that's kind of knocking around. It's supposed to help with that. Make sure that is working.
And you can see that if it's,
as soon as you turn the key on, it should start agitating. You should be able to turn the key on and hear it from the cab.
Just that's CCS planters.
Yeah, only CCS. Even on the 3 bushel boxes and the 1.5s, guys, I've seen guys over talc or not talc enough.
What's the right amount of talc?
What's the right amount of talc? It's on the label. That's right. Guys, if you're filling a box, I've pretty much, you get that little cup in there that comes with it. I usually, on the 1.5s, I usually tell guys to 3/4 to a cup, the first couple fills. And then if you want to just leave it at 3/4 of a cup, that's about where I go with it. Try to sprinkle it on top the best you can. I know when we're in a hurry, we just want to dump it and go. But if you don't get it on top or get it on them seeds, it's not going to happen. Which also helps. I'm sure the Underfirth guy would like this. They have he's probably sleeping, but he don't sleep. They got them, I think I've put them on a couple for Matt and Nate and them guys, but they have the seed treatments that goes on as it's going through the towel conductor. That's the word I was looking for. Thank you very much. Towel conductor on there. That will help you regulate what you got, how much you want to put on and what's going on. For the bigger planters, even for the single box filling planters, it'll help keep the towel.
Actually, on those towel conductors, on the seed tender, I've seen a guy's use go to half. He used half.
Well, and then it mixes it.
And he got it recycled.
And then it's all mixed in. So, at the end of the day, it's all about the bottom dog. Yes, sir.
Do you stir the talc in?
I've got some guys that do.
I have forever.
I know Dad and Grandpa were always, if that was my job when I was a little kid, was to go back there and stir the talc in. That was kind of my job. So, yeah, I recommend it to help get the seed treatment, or get your talc all over as much as you can, so it's not one big lump falling down in the seed tube. So, because if you dump it on top, you know, that it's running down into the meter, it's just going down in there and making it, you know, if you don't have it spread out, it's just going in that one spot. So I agree. Stirring it up with a broom handle or something isn't a bad idea at all.
They have a new towel.
Oh, they do?
This product here is more bee friendly. A lot of guys are I have a lot of guys that really care about the bees that'll buy this product. I haven't heard too many people use it, but it is a new thing out there, and we do have it at our stores to try.
That's that soybean based.
I'm not sure exactly.
I think that's what it
That's
is.
not soybean based. No.
Okay.
Cornstarch.
Cornstarch. Okay.
The dust is what's soybean based. That people are selling. That's a different product.
Okay.
Air is more. It's less dusty. You only use an eighth of a cup per unit of seed, and less residue build up. You know how talc will build up in the units. That will not, for better flow, basically. One of those buckets about $90, $100, but you do use a lot less.
Because you're going through, you said a third to
It's an eighth of a cup.
an eighth of a cup. So you're going from an eighth of a cup.
Cup per unit.
Yep. So you're going from an eighth of a cup to 3/4 of a cup or a cup, depending on what you want to use. That's you got to kind of take that in and take that out. I know guys do fertilizer. We're going to touch on that. We still have time, right?
Yeah, we got to do that.
The fertilizer guys, you got fertilizer pumps on the planter, right? You got check valves on the planter. You got orifices on the planter. At the beginning of the season, you just go ahead and dump some fertilizer in and go, or do most guys put some water in and try it first? I always like the water idea, or RV antifreeze if you're afraid it's still going to freeze. You never know what Mother Nature in Northwest Indiana is going to do today. So with that in mind, guys, you want to take and run some water through that planter to make sure the pump's going to work right. You have no check valves messing up. The red ball system's going to work. Leaks anywhere. I love a red ball system. I don't know about these guys, but I do. It makes my job so much easier. I know I had a guy last year that was complaining. He had a pump flow problem, but he didn't know it until when? Till the corn got up about this tall, and he goes, "Ooh, I got a problem. My right side of my planter wasn't planting enough, or putting on enough fertilizer. Putting on enough fertilizer." So what happened is, he thought everything was good because it all comes out of one tank, right? It was putting it on right. I just had manifolds out there. I'm golden, right? Well, now we have a problem. So now his fertilizer's not right. So now, does he bump up the nitrogen? Does somebody come out and have another application put on? You know, have a sprayer go across, put some more fertilizer down, or what does he do? He puts it on with a little bit of side dressing. Yep. So that's what the guy ended up doing. He had to go through with side dress. He had to bump his anhydrous up. Well, he didn't prepay for planting. You know, he prepaid for what he thought he was going to use of the anhydrous, but now he's got to use a little more, right, to make sure he gets it. So with that in mind, now he didn't know what it was. That red ball sitting back there floating would have been a pretty cheap investment, right? Because we all know nitrogen or anhydrous ammonia is expensive, right? that red ball would have paid for itself, and the guy agreed with me 100% that it would have paid for itself in the first year. And I've got a lot of guys that, you know, hey, let's go ahead and do this because I see I may have a problem, and let's go ahead and do it. Guys, I know our parts department can get you guys set up with that, and that is something you guys can do for sure. Basically, if you want to go ahead and talk about installing them real quick.
Yeah, we used to do a whole bunch of them. We don't sell a lot of new planters anymore to put them on, but we usually go through Vision Ag to get all the parts for the red ball systems, and we just custom build them. We'll use, like if the planter's got the manifold there with the air line, we use the existing lines where we don't have to run new lines. We'll just move them back a row. We might have to run one whole row, and we have enough hose, and just got to make the brackets to bolt them on, put them together, run the hoses, shut off valves, and the screens in there. And pretty simple, really.
Right, yeah, there ain't much to it, guys.
Might take a couple days, day, 2 days, whatever.
Basically, you're waiting on the paint to dry for the bracket behind it. The other thing with that fertilizer, guys, is so your pump is on there, right? And you don't know what the pump's putting out. With the red ball, you would actually have a better idea if it's flowing how it's supposed to be. Guys, you need to put something besides fertilizer in the pump. I know some guys tell me I'm crazy. It's a waste of time. But I do like to see the planter cleaned out and some RV antifreeze or John Deere winterizer. It's around here somewhere, I think. Put into that system, because what happens now is that fertilizer is sticky, right? And the RV antifreeze or the winterizer is sticky too, but it's not as sticky. Fertilizer is also corrosive, right? If that line blows off the fertilizer thing, you got rust everywhere on everything. So if you're leaving that sit in a pump, what do you think's happening to the inside of that pump? It's eating the seals out. It's messing them up.
And if you're using any kind of sulfur in your fertilizer, it'll salt out.
Yep. So if leaving that brings up a very good point. So if you leave that stuff in the tank, right? Now we go to get it out, we put some water in there, some more fertilizer. That stuff's all settled to the bottom, now we have a plug, right? Because if that stuff's all crystallized out or messed up, you got a plug in the planter. And then you're thinking, now I just filled this 400-gallon tank or 600-gallon tank of fertilizer and I have a mess, right? Because if it's plugged in the bottom of the tank, how are you going to get that out of there? So it's a good thing to kind of look in that fertilizer tank. I know that's one of the things that guys kind of look over. You know, oh, it's fertilizer. It held fertilizer last year. I'm golden. I'm good. But you will have a problem.
One thing about the fertilizer hoses and stuff, I don't know if anybody still has the old cleared hoses or, you know, that style, but if they're getting to where they're drying out, cracking, breaking, getting brittle, sun dried or whatever, you can upgrade to the airline that we sell, that they put on all the new planters today. Pretty simple to get the parts for, and they got the fittings to change if you have the old style pumps or whatever. I like to see the airline on them. It makes it a lot cleaner and looking and nicer.
Nicer to mess with. Plus you can get them splice kits. You know, say you pitch a hose, it happens. You know, you can go in there and just put this splice in there, just like an airline hose, and go on about it. So, one other thing I want to bring up, guys, is I know this is something I should have brought up before we started, but I wanted to get outside and it was cold, and I want to get you guys back in here where it's warm. But farm safety is one of the biggest things. I don't know, you guys have heard it when I put on clinics. I usually dress up. I got a hard hat, and some safety glasses, and a vest, and all that good stuff. But guys, farm safety is one of the big things. Guys, I've been around this long enough to see some things that I just really don't care to see again. Seen some bad things happen to good people. Seen cylinders break on field cultivators with them up in the air. Guy walking underneath of it. Had a bad day. So guys, do take a note when you're folding a planter, you're folding the finisher, you're folding the sprayer up, you're folding the hoses up to take and move to the next field, and you're in a hurry. Slow down just a little bit. It'll be all right. There will be, you know, another time to get it in, I promise. But if a cylinder breaks or something like that happens, there isn't much that's going to help you. If you got guys working with you or working around you, things could happen real fast. I know when we're working on stuff together in the shop, we kind of make note of where everybody's at and when we're doing, and honking the horn, and, you know, just so we know where everybody's at. Because farm safety to me, I know Cameron's got a couple. You got a couple kids, Jeremy?
Not yet.
Not yet. Okay. Well, hopefully one of these days. I got a little girl at home, and I know coming home to her to see her smile every night is one of the biggest things I get in the day. So guys, I know farm safety is one of them things everybody looks over, doesn't talk about in clinics, doesn't want to talk about, right? I don't want to talk about it, you know. Or we know somebody who has been hurt. Guys, farm safety to me is one of the biggest things that should be talked about more often than what it is. They do print that in the front of the operator's manuals. I know the guys from John Deere probably pull them out and look at them once a week. Well, maybe not once a week, but they do look at them. They take it very seriously, just like I do. And that operator manual that is in there does have a lot of good information. Grease points, right? We got grease points in there. We got where to set the seed disc at, or your population. Tractor safety. Where to set the hydraulics at, right? When Cameron hooked that planter up, you know, he wanted to set this one here and this one here. And that all changes with the planter, guys. I do know a guy, a couple falls ago goes around the auger cart on the planting tractor, right? It's where that one usually goes, from the planter to the auger cart back, or vice versa. Guy calls me up. This is where RDA would have came in great. Guy calls me up and says, hey, I got a problem. I go, okay, what's the problem? Why is planting through the field and the CCS blower messed up, or my vacuum shutting off? What happened, guys? Why did it shut off in 10 seconds? Because he didn't reset the SCVs, right? So I drove an hour, or half hour, 45 minutes to that guy's house. Now he had $110, whatever it was an hour, I don't remember. Call for hey, Flip, we're good to go, guys. You know, because I get busy doing things, and I know these guys do too. We're out on calls, and our service manager calls us and goes, hey, this guy's got a problem with his planter, he wants to get planted, and we overlook the obvious, right? I know I'm guilty of it. Been there, done that. Go, ooh, oops, yep, missed that one. That's my fault. But guys, when you're switching from tractors back and forth, that JD Link or service advisory mode, or that Brian and Mike were talking about, I have seen it where it does some good. I've seen some times when this is the stupidest thing in the world, right? Because it didn't work fast enough for what we wanted to do. I get that, been there, done that. But I do see where it is a very helpful tool. It has helped get the population. You know, guys switched from corn to soybeans. We were talking about. Had everything right on the planner, you know, went through it, had a checklist. Bam, 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 I'm good. Forgot one step in the planner setup, right? Switching from corn to beans. And I know this happens. Because I've done it. I switched father-in-law from corn to soybeans. And then I switched him back from soybeans to corn so he could finish planting a field that was real wet. He went to planting, makes it 4 or 5 rounds in the field, and he's out of seed. Oops. So he's calling me in a panic, right? Got a problem with the planter, I can't plant. Yeah, I know what I did. I overlooked the obvious. So I've been doing this for 10 years, 11 years, whatever it is, long time. But I mess up. And I know you guys do too. It happens. So when you're going through that, that's where that RDA will come in nice. Especially with, I know I get the guys that call me up, and we switch from tillage tool in the fall that was 12 foot wide, right? To the finisher that was 30 foot wide. He comes on the end, turns, and overlapping quite a bit, right? So what happened? Forgot to change the track spacing. Something that was an easy fix, that, yeah, we probably could have done it over the phone. You know, you could have called us, I might have been, but when I'm doing 100 things, I got, well, let's take it in the, you know, right here, guys. There's 30 people, 30 different farmers in here that I may talk to in that one day. Or Cameron may talk to, or Jeremy may talk to, or any of the other technicians we have at Castongia Tractor may talk to that day. We don't quite know everybody's operation. We think we might have them all memorized. I try to memorize them all to know what guys are doing. But it does happen. I forget. So where that RDA comes in nice for us, or service advisory remote, is I can look at it. I don't know if you guys have been playing with it a little bit. I know I have. I know I had a guy call me up, or Matt called me. Hey, I got this code on this guy's tractor, because he's watching that JD Link on his phone. Comes to his phone, and he's got this code coming up. What's it mean? Can he keep going, or should he stop? Well, it's a filter restriction sensor on a 30 series tractor. I said, tell him keep going. I said, but the only problem is it will shut you down a little bit here. There's a sensor on top of the filters, by the filters. Guy changed it out, was good going, kept planting. The difference between that and him keep planting to not planting was the next day it rained 1.5 inches. He was able to go to the dealership, get a sensor, put it on himself because he knew what the problem was. Because Matt and my communication with Matt helped the guy keep going. And there was no way I or the other technicians were going to make it there. I mean, there's only so many of us to help you guys as much as we can. I mean, I'd love to be to everybody's beck and call when I could be there. But it happens when you're 3rd or 4th or 5th down the line that, hey, I will get there, I promise you. But with RDA or simple things like that will help you keep going through the field. Is there any questions we got? No questions from the painting gallery? Painting gallery was the guys in Castongia shirts.
Chain lube.
Oh, chain lube. Good call. Good call. Guys, don't use it.
Use multi-purpose.
Use multi-purpose lube instead of chain lube. The dirt doesn't stick to it as bad to lubricate the chains.
My opinion, I guess, our opinion.
Yeah, that's my opinion. I'd rather use something that the dirt don't stick to.
Especially in sandy soil.
Right. Yep.
That's for not as sandy soil, you can use chain lube, not sandy soil.
Yep.
And if you're using talc, use multi-purpose spray.
Yep. Yeah. Been down that road a time or two. So on that, you know, guys that got chains, there's a chain on the planter, right? Probably heard from the Precision guys. They want them changed every year. I've heard that from a couple guys. I've heard that from several different guys. They want to change the chain every year, right? Because what happens to a chain? Does it get stiff? Does it create a skip? I've actually had a guy, had a planter, was 4 or 5 years old, had the zinc covered chains on it, right? He was planting through the field. Calls me up. The variable rate motors are shutting down. Oh, okay. This is a new one, right? Haven't seen this before. So he goes through and he's running and he's running. Does it again. All right, I'll be out there. Head out there, get out there. Come to find out, guys, I was riding with him. We rode for an hour that day. I rode with him. Couldn't figure out the problem. Man, I looked everything over. Top, bottom. Couldn't figure out what was happening. Well, if you look on your seed meters, the chain drive that's running from the meter to the drill shaft that's up front had a little bitty catch in it where the chain wasn't right? So it has stiff link in there. That stiff link was actually catching the frame on the planter. When it came around, it hit that, and he'd be done. It shut the whole planter down. I mean, we'd have 16 rows of nothing. Yeah, I'll just back up, a section control, fix it, and we'll go again, right? But the problem was that chain link was causing a problem, and we had a 200-acre field that he had a whole bunch of problems in that we couldn't find for a simple thing. Back to making sure, think it's simple. It might not be the biggest problem. I thought it was hydraulic motors. I looked the bearings over, pulled and turned, all the chains looked, you know, I looked at this chain, but it was just a little bit, guys. But the guy never oiled the chains either. He thought, oh, it's got that zinc coat or cover on. I don't need to do that. I cleaned it. I'm good. I don't need to oil it. Right? And everybody's in here going, I oil my chains. It ain't a problem. Right? I know. I've been there, done that, sat on this side. I oil the chains. It ain't a problem. Guys, after a while, that chain's going to wear out. You're going to get a stiff link in it. You're not going to realize it midway through the season. Now that storm's coming across there, I got row 14 that won't plant. A simple chain. Guys, I'm not saying you got to replace them every year. But what I am saying is that we need to take a look at them. If they're starting to get a few stiff links in them, go ahead and change them. Go ahead and go through them.
Bad chains can lead to bad sprockets.
Yeah, bad chains, bad sprockets. Good call. Plus, what was, you know, the other problem that was happening with this drill shaft that, you know, I didn't really take into consideration until right this very moment, but that every time that chain would come around there, it was putting a pressure on that bearing, right? Because it's hitting against the frame, pushing that bearing that's on that sprocket out, causing a problem with that bearing. It ain't gonna be a problem right now, but it's gonna be a problem down the road. So if you have a chain planter, check them over. If you're questioning them, yank them off, bring them in. We'll look at them. I ain't got a problem telling you what the problem is.
You have one question.
Yep. Oh, hang on.
How much droop per foot did they have?
So our rule, and this, one of the other guys up north came up with this rule for me, and I always liked it. If it sounds like a snake, she's junk. She sounds like a rattlesnake, get her gone. Because what's happening is them bushings in there are starting to move. And when you start noticing on the planter on the row unit drives, the plastic or the gears in there will start getting over, and you'll start noticing you got just too much play in there. The best way to do is to come to our great parts department, grab a chain, come back, throw it on real quick. Yep, she's bad. I know I do that with a lot of guys. I take the seat disc, you know, oh, I measured it. Yeah, let's go compare it to a new one. And you put it on the new one, he's like, yeah, we'll go ahead and just go ahead and order them. You know, it ain't a problem. So, but on the train juke, what I tell guys mostly, because everybody's opinion on it's a little different, take a new chain, and if you see a big difference or a lot of difference in it, go ahead and replace it.
Yeah, I've seen them where they will rub the guide piece. They're so loose and elongated. I mean,
yep.
Before it ever gets close to that. Definitely.
Yeah, they need to be going before that. We have another question. Go ahead.
Yeah, on your stop line where they don't run changes type you see talking about the like
Pro Drive.
These two.
Oh.
Not unless you want to put it on where they slide in and out, because there's sealed bearings inside those drives, so there's really nothing you can do with it. Speaking of that, though, I did notice this year on a set of meters that I just was running, those drives that he's talking about with the shaft drive, it's easy enough with nothing in it to just spin it over and see how tight it turns. I did notice on this one this year that it had a lot of bad ones. And if you'll know when you go to try to turn it, they're stiff and they won't move. And those things are expensive. I found out they're $550 a piece, I think, somewhere in that range.
So back to that, if the fertilizer's spraying out on one of them, let's get it rinsed off sooner versus later. I know it sprays, I cut the line, I'm good, I gotta get planting. At least when you go home that night or something, grab a bottle of water and just kind of pour it on there. I know it's electrical, don't put electrical with water, but the fertilizer versus water, I'd rather have the water.
He's holding that seed disc too. I know this is pre-planting, should have talked about it before winter, but don't store your discs inside your meters. You want to store them on a peg somewhere so they don't warp sitting in.
Why would they warp? There's no problem with that.
Yeah.
They're not tight, right? I mean,
right.
They go ahead and spin easily. Guys, that brings a very good point up there. That you got that brush in there, right? You got that vacuum seal in there, right? So all that material, you got the cap closed because you don't want the mice to get in there, you know, obviously. But if that mice in there, or what gets in there, or that seal's smashed, right? So all winter long, this seal's smashed like this, right? It's like taking your hat and going like this for hours. You know, eventually it's going to stay right here. So if you're doing that with the hat or with the seal, it's going to stay like that when you get her out to go planting.
How do you do?
Yeah, I sit there and go like this all day for a couple hours to make sure it's the right side. But guys, that's going to smash the brush out, smash the seals out. Now we're spending more money, right? Because I might have said at the beginning, into that season, oh, your brushes, your seals don't make her another year. But then you bring in the meter after you plant and go, man, I got a lot of skips, I got a lot of doubles, I got a lot of this. Well, let me look at your meter. Well, when I open the meter up, I go, yeah, somebody didn't take them out, did they? No, I left them in there. Where am I going to store them, right? I don't want to have a problem. If I leave them there, I can't lose them. It happens, I know. So if you take that meter out, I got some guys that make some pegs, you know, some flat bases on them. I know some guys that get boxes and put them in, put them on the shelf. It does help. And now them pro shafts, the guys were asking about that. What I tell all of my customers is I usually tell them to carry one in the box. Because there is no check I can do on it. There is no looking it over I can do on it to say, yep, you're going to be fine this year, because I can't see it. But I always take one of them and throw in the box because it's not very big, right? I can throw it in the buddy seat right beside me, underneath the seat or behind the seat, wherever. These cabs have amazing amount of room now to store junk. I mean parts. I mean, pop bottles, whatever. But guys, what I'm getting at with that is things like that shut you down. I mean, if that shaft breaks, you're down. But I have no good way of taking and checking that. And I know these guys, unless you guys came up with something that I don't know about, to check that.
Not in the field.
there's no good field weigh, field check. Maybe if they send it to some engineers or something, they can figure out a test it.
Those shafts are not all the same.
No.
Okay.
Yep. Different lengths, especially in certain plants.
Yep. So
1790s have different. Yeah.
Go ahead, Matt. You know it.
1790s, 15-inch row spacing. They have different. There's 3 different ones on there. Your 1775s, your 1770 NTs, depending on your length of your parallel arms, the shafts are different. Each shaft on your planter should have a part number taped around the shaft if the factory did it right and it stayed on there. So check those. If you're going to have one on hand or 2 on hand, check that part number and make sure you have the right shaft on hand, because they will not interchange. Well, some of them might, but it's not pretty.
Right. Yeah, it's not pretty.
And if that breaks, you're down. I mean, after that rows down.
Yeah. Because even if you guys have clutches on them, the clutches always shut off or shut on. They might not shut off at the end of the row, but it will stay on. So that's something you might, that day, you might have some longer things, and you're overlapping a little bit. That does happen. But if the shaft's gone, you're done, right? So that's one thing I just tell guys to throw in the seat behind them, and let's rock and roll. Yes, Amy? Okay. So with that in mind, guys, yeah, I know you can't carry every part in there. That would be great. Wouldn't it have the parts department right behind us, or have the parts department right there in the field with us to keep us going? It don't always happen that way. But some of the things that you can keep in the cab, it ain't a bad idea. Some of them split, fertilizer, splice kits, or the pneumatic down pressure splice, so you can splice in a hose or a chunk of hose, just to get you up and going real quick. I know most of the guys probably already keep that in the cab, but some guys don't. So, how much time I got left? I'm done? Okay, that's good. I'll end there, guys. I did a good job. I want to thank you guys for coming and appreciate it. And if you have any questions, don't be afraid to ask. Like I said.